Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Overland Family Expeditions. Rob and I just finished posting our first season of videos where we head out and scout a trip for our families, and we will soon be posting another season when we actually bring the kids with us back to the Moab area. We thought it would be a good idea to make a video of our rigs and do a quick walk around, tell you what we have on those rigs that got us out to Moab and back. So here we go.
Cool.
My 4Runner is a 2015 Trail Premium. Reasons that I went with this car in particular, I like the idea of having a rear locking differential. I didn't specifically buy the car for that purpose, but having built a 2013 Rubicon that Rob and I took out to Moab for Easter Jeep Safari prior to that, I realized that that's a pretty valuable piece, and especially having it warranted by Toyota is a good idea. This car now has just under 50,000 miles, so I think I've got a pretty good idea of gas mileage with modifications. The modifications went on this car with just over 10,000 miles, so we've put quite a few on. We've made 3 trips now out west, one with the 4Runner in a completely stock configuration, and now 2 trips with the modified 4Runner. Well, starting in the front, obviously all cosmetic stuff. This is the TRD front grille. I switched it over from the Trail Premium. Like I said, it's purely cosmetic, just a personal choice. One of the biggest upgrades that I wanted to make to my car after we made the stock trip to Wyoming, we spent a lot of time on national forest roads in the stock Dunlops that came with the car, and I soon realized, thankfully we didn't fall victim to any flat tires, but that upgrading to at least all terrains is a really good idea, especially if you're going to be off-road on the national service roads or any other off-roading for that matter. In addition, to accommodate the size, the 33-inch BFG KO2s that I have on here, I also went with an Icon lift after extensive research, looking at multiple lifts, OMEs, Kings. I decided to go with a Stage 2 Icon lift with the long travel front coilovers. Reason being, I knew that I would like to do a little bit of rock crawling at some point where Rob and I kind of go on solo trips out to Moab when we don't have the kids with us and we don't have to worry about them getting too jostled in the back seat. The Stage 2 Icon lift was perfect because it came with the long travel front coilovers, but at the same time, it wasn't an excessive lift kit. I didn't have to worry about reservoir shocks or anything like that. In addition, this is also kind of a cosmetic upgrade, but it does serve a purpose. The CBI off-road ditch light brackets that I put rigid lights on. These are good, especially where we live in the cornfields in Illinois for deer. When we're driving at night, I do put these on quite a bit to light the ditches while I'm driving, and they also serve a great purpose when we're traveling out west as well. The next upgrade is the CBI off-road rock sliders. Again, I thought this would be a good idea based on prior experience in Moab. The intention of the vehicle isn't to do rock crawling, but I knew that occasionally I would be doing some rock crawling, so I definitely wanted to protect the rocker panels, the underside, and the reason I purchased the CBI off-road bumper, but the funny thing is these are aluminum rocker guards, and they were actually on the garage sale list through CBI off-road, so I got a really good deal on these. That's one of the main reasons I went with those. After upgrading to 33-inch tires, the trouble is you can only fit up to a 275 underneath the spare tire carrier from the factory. And I knew, again, after our trip to Wyoming, we plotted gas stations, but at one point we went to a couple different gas stations that were actually closed, that were shown as open when we were planning our trip, and I vowed that I would never get that close to running out of gasoline again. So the CBI off-road bumper was crucial, not only because of the gas carrying capacity, but also because I couldn't fit a 33-inch spare tire underneath the factory setting. So I knew I needed to carry a full-size spare. And I had a couple of options. Obviously, I could go CBI off-road, Schrock Works. There's a number of bumper manufacturers out there. And I'm not going to lie when I say that Expedition Overland definitely had something to do with the CBI choice, but it really is an awesome bumper. The other option was to carry it on a roof rack, which I really didn't like. Eventually I'd like to get one, but didn't want to have the spare tire up there. It also allows me to carry a high lift jack, which has come in handy more than one time. This thing is fantastic. It not only functions as a lift for your car, you can use it as a winch, etc. When we went out west this time with the kids to Moab, I was originally carrying 2 5-gallon gas cans for 2 4Runners. And what I found is that 5 gallons of gasoline is more than sufficient for the remoteness that we were seeking, which is going off the grid for 2, maybe 3 days, 4 at the most. But we realized that water, especially in the desert environment, is crucial. So we had a lot of spare water with us, but having an extra 5 gallons of water that we could use at our dispense for washing, cleaning dishes, etc., made a lot more sense than having the 5 gallons of gasoline that we realized we were never using. The initial 5 was always plenty. Additional upgrades to the bumper. I did put the shackles. I went with stainless simply because we get a lot of salt here in the Midwest in the wintertime. And it's one less thing I have to worry about rusting or running to the car wash to get the salt off as quick as possible. Now, on to Allison, my wife, her favorite upgrade of the vehicle. After we went to Wyoming, we were gone for 2.5 weeks, somewhere in that neighborhood. We realized that coolers, especially when remote, it's hard to find ice, number one. Number two, you're constantly dealing with the wetness, etc. And it's a big purchase, but for us, it's been one of our best purchases so far is the fridge. It's fantastic. We took it to Moab on our last family trip, and I have to say that they're definitely worth their weight in gold. I made this cabinet custom. You can actually fit a sliding folding table underneath here, and eventually with the idea to put the CBI table for our stove, but we just set up a kitchen here. And I put the ARB slide inside so we can bring our fridge out, we can pop the top up, we can access everything, bring it out to the table and cook. And when we're all done, just go ahead and slide the fridge back in and lock it in place. And the last upgrade that I wanted to mention is the S-Pod source. This is where I wire all of my lights because I also have a set of rigids in the CBI bumper. I will show a clip right now that shows the Lux underneath lighting. Again, not necessary, but I knew that when Rob and I did the night run of Hell's Revenge that I would like some lighting to actually see the boulders before I drove over them. So again, that's Lux lighting. And the Interstate, I went with an Interstate battery. This is a deep cycle, but it has a lot of cold cranking amps to get the car started. Deep cycle simply because I knew we were going to be running a refrigerator and extra lights. So I wanted to make sure that I could deep cycle the battery without having to worry about any issues starting up. Interstate versus Odyssey, don't troll me on this one because I have better things to do in my life than deal with that. But I went with Interstate simply because Interstates are everywhere. If this battery ever has an issue, I know that I can get to an Interstate quickly. I felt like Odyssey didn't have the same amount of retailers, so it's much easier to get my hands on one of these if I have any kind of issue. So if we do deep cycle, drain this battery all the way, the other thing that I have is an Interstate. It's a small jump pack, and it can jump a diesel truck multiple times, so it should be plenty for us. So if we are ever remote, plus we're traveling with the two vehicles together, we can always jump each other if need be.
All right, so this is my 2016 Limited. I had a really tough choice to make. I bought my 4Runner after Jeff bought his. I really love the Trail Premiums, the TRD Pros, but at the end of the day, I had to be real and recognize that this is a daily driver. This is replacing the family vehicle. We had a Toyota Highlander before, so my wife is taking this rig every day, hauling the kids around it, and so I needed to find some compromise where I couldn't have the monster truck that I would have preferred, but needed something in between. And so this meets my needs for now. It gives me an option to get off-road and go on some trips. It did its first maiden trip this summer out to Utah and Colorado. It's done a couple other weekend camping trips, but it pretty much will get me where I need to go. And I know if we're gonna do anything crazy, extreme, Hell's Revenge at night, we've got Jeff's rig to trash on those trails. So, there's things I liked about the Limited. There's a lot of things I don't like about the Limited. But at the end of the day, for Monday through Friday, it's the best of the 4Runner lineups for my personal needs. So one of the things I didn't like about the Limited was all the chrome that was, the front. If you compare the front to the Trail or the SR5 or the TRD Pro versus the Limited, you'll see the front bumper is very different. It doesn't have nearly the same clearance. And then it's just decked out with chrome. So one of the first things I did is I did black out the front bumper and then some of the emblems as well. While we're here in the front, the other thing I've done is the yellow fog lights. There's just a sticker that goes over the top. I like the look and kind of like that yellow color when we're driving down the roads. So that's about it for the front. All right, moving here to the side, the first thing you'll notice is the tires and the wheels. Again, some tough choices to be made with tires and wheels. Of course, I'd love to have a bigger tire, but it's also something I need to be conscious of with gas mileage, with weight, just everyday practicality. So one of the problems with the Limited, again, another thing I don't like about the Limited is it comes with the 20-inch wheels. And you're not going to find a lot of all-terrain tires that are going to fit on those 20-inch wheels. So if you're going to go with a BF Goodrich KO2 or any real strong all-terrain tire, it's sort of part of the game to replace the wheels as well. And I like the look of the Limited wheels, the stock Limited wheels, but 20 inches didn't give me a lot to work with for a tire. So I didn't want to make it look like a TRD Pro. I found these wheels are FN wheels. I think the name of the wheel is the FN X Pro wheel. Dustin, who you'll see on the 4Runner forums, he's a really stand-up guy, great customer service. But one of the reasons why I chose to go with those is a little different than the TRD Pro wheel. It's a little lighter, it's a little wider, it has a little different offset than the TRD Pro, and it's a little cheaper actually. At the time, I needed to get the tires and the wheels upgraded for our trip. The TRD Pro wheels were actually really hard to find, and if you did find them, you're going to pay a premium. So I'm pretty happy with these. I also chose a 265/7017 BFG KO2 tire. After taking the Jeff's rig out west and seeing how that handled, it was sort of a no-brainer. I went with the more of a stock size because, again, it's a daily driver. I'm conscious of gas mileage. I also wanted to make sure I could easily fit a full spare underneath. You start to get into the 275, 285, questionable if it'll fit under there, and I'm not quite ready to do the back bumper. And then also I like the C-Class. Is it C-Class or E-Class? What do they call it? E-Load, C-Load. The C-Load is a little lighter than the E-Load, and the C-Load is only available in the 265/7017. Another thing I did to improve some clearance where I could was rip off the Limited rocker panel. The Limited original stock panel comes down pretty low, almost as low as where these Nerf bars sit today. So again, to buy myself a little extra clearance, I took off the rocker panel and I replaced it with a Trail rocker panel. It comes in black, I didn't bother painting it. And then that allowed me to put these NFAB Nerf bars on. They're not sliders. Again, sliders would be better for off-roading, but I'm not expecting taking this thing on too many rock crawling trips. And with the kids, it gives them a really nice step to be able to get into the car seats on their own. I've got a 7 and a 3-year-old, and it makes it real easy for them, and I like the way it looks. But I did add some extra height clearance by putting in spacers, and so I've got a Toy Tech 2.5 inch or 2-inch spacer kit on the front. I decided to stay with the X-Reyes system. I know a lot of other Limited owners love to rip out the X-Reyes system. Again, for my practical purpose, X-Reyes is fine. I have no problem with it. I was just looking for an inch or two of additional clearance. So the spacer met my needs. So I put the Toy-Tech 2 or 2.5 inch spacer in the front, and I've got a corn-fed 1 inch spacer in the back. So I've mentioned a couple things that I don't like about the Limited, but it's worth mentioning the few things that I do. One is I just absolutely love the redwood leather interior. Again, that's something that only would come on the Limited. You spend more time on the inside of the vehicle than the outside of the vehicle, and I've always wanted the dark brown leather seats, and so I was always attracted to the Limited model in that respect. The other things about a Limited that I really was looking for was the dual climate control on those long road trips. The wife and I run different body temperatures, and you know, I like to have it a little cooler. She likes to have it warmer, so that works well for our marriage. And then the other thing is unique with the Limited is the cooling seats. So you've got heated seats. You also have cooling seats. So it's nice, especially when you're out in Moab. You get a little air conditioner right on your hiney, up your lower back. It feels good. The other thing, for anybody that knows, that the Limited comes in all-wheel drive. Not a big deal. That wasn't a major factor for me. I had a 1997 4Runner. Stacy, she drove that thing through many Minnesota winters, knew how to use four-wheel drive. I could take or leave the all-wheel drive, but I guess it's nice knowing that it'll engage anytime when she's driving around with the kids and whatnot. So yeah, that's a quick tour of the interior. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed a tour of both our vehicles. As you can see, they're very similar, but they're also very different, both capable in their own ways. But both can get us out and take us on the trips that we've always dreamed of going on. And you'll get a chance to see some of that footage in our next series that we're releasing where both our families are out. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. If you've got any questions about any of the modifications or any of the decisions or topics that we've touched on today, please leave those questions in the comments below, and we'll be sure to reply as quickly as we can. So thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Gonna have to do that one over. Both our vehicles got to see what am I talking about, man?
I don't know.